Welcome back to Quarantine Apologetics, defending the Faith Wonder lockdown. I'm Allan Ruhl. There are a certain group of people who are active online who follow around a guy named Jay Dyer. I've mentioned Jay Dyer before. These are almost exclusively converts to the Orthodox Church, specifically the Chalcedonian Orthodox, also known as Eastern Orthodox, from Protestantism. They're Protestants that became Orthodox. Some are former Catholics, but they're not usually cradle Catholics. Cradle Catholics rarely ever convert to Eastern Orthodoxy. If they're a Catholic that converts, it's kind of like Jay Dyer, Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox with a bunch of stops in between and going back and forth a little in his case. But I've had to help two people recently who have been preached at, shall we say, by the followers of Jay Dyer. And they're very good at shifting the burden of proof. Now, most of these people who follow around Jay Dyer know absolutely nothing. I had a private dialogue with one of them. I'm not going to say his name, but he's on Twitter, he's on YouTube, and I'm just dialoguing with him. I'm like, I want to hear your story. He gives me his story, and I start asking him a few basic questions, and he knows absolutely nothing. He's just repeating what Jay Dyer says. So, and now, something else. Amongst these Protestant converts to Eastern Orthodoxy, they're night and day from cradle Eastern Orthodox. I mean, if you know cradle Eastern Orthodox, they're night and day from these people. And I'm not insulting these people. I'm not trying to say that they're just so different than the cradles. I took Russian for 5 years, and my teacher invited me to church with her. And so I got to go. I got to learn about the Orthodox Church, and there's a priest I knew. He was a monk priest, meaning he was not married. We had some discussions, and I'm very close with a lot of them. Some of my best friends are Eastern Orthodox, and they're all cradles. They're not converts. So I've had to deal with some that are aggressively preaching at Catholics. I'm not going to name any names. And so two of these people that have been preached at have come to me, and they needed help defending Catholic doctrine, specifically the papacy, but not only. And for them, I recommended 3 books that I will help. Since I've talked to 2 people already, I almost sure that there's more out there. So I will give some resources on a papacy. The first resource is this book, The Early Papacy to the Synod of Chalcedon in 451, by Fortescue. Fortescue is a convert from Anglicanism, and he was challenged to defend the papacy from an Anglican. So this actually responds to a Protestant, and it goes up to 451. And so it talks about a lot of the basic defenses. It's a good book. And the second book is not even about the papacy. It's just the ecclesiastical history of the English people by Venerable Bede. Shout out to Corinth. Corinth, I'm plugging your buddy's book. So, and that is it's a history of the church in England. but it talked about how it was closely related to the papacy and how the papacy oversaw the evangelization of it. It's not an apologetic for the papacy, just a history book, but it's really good. And it's also good polemic against Anglicans too, because the Catholic Church that was overthrown by the Tudor monarchs in the 16th century, Henry and Edward and Elizabeth, was not a medieval church. It's the very ancient church. The church Christ established, a church that had been there for 900 years before King Henry decided he knew better for the English people. So you will enjoy this read. And yeah, exactly. It's helpful because it gives some good papal proof, but it's also a very good read. It's an enjoyable read. It's a history. Most people here are Canadian or American who are listening to me, and they are former colonies of England. So we're kind of like Protestant countries. English-speaking Canada's majority Protestant. America's majority Protestant. There's Catholics here, but we're in the minority. And so these two books I would recommend. Now, these two books are also free online. You can get them in PDF. And because in these hard economic times, a lot of people maybe got laid off from work, don't have a lot of cash. These two are free online. You can find them. I believe this was published in the early 1900s. I don't know the exact year, and this obviously goes back to the 730s. So these two resources are free, they're online, and they're good. Well, one last book. It's not online. It's a contemporary book. You'll have to pay for this one. Is Upon This Rock by Steve Ray. Now, Steve Ray is a contemporary author. He's still alive. He's a convert from Protestantism. And it's interesting. Lizzie Rize, also known as Lizzie Answers, a Catholic YouTuber, said that this book was very instrumental in her conversion to the Catholic Church. And I know other people it's helped too. She's just the most famous, obviously, because she has like 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, so these three books, Steve Ray, Venerable Bede, Fortescue, the Early Papacy. Again, it's not the Cradle Orthodox that are doing this. I want to leave them out of it, but like these zealous followers of J. Dyer are very active in proselytizing Catholics. And since I've had to help too, I bet there's more out there that need help. Now, of course, those aren't enough on their own. Those are just to get your feet wet. So there's way more material out there than those three books. But those are the ones to start with. And if you need more, you can send me a direct message on Twitter. And I'll recommend more. So, So, Catholics, you know what to read if you need to defend the papacy. Or if you need to defend something now, send me a private message. My box is open on Twitter now, so I think anyone can send it to me. I think that's the case. But, so I hope you learned something today, and God bless.